This device right here, the HP Chromebook x360 14c, is the follow-up, like the proper successor to the original x360 Chromebook that HP unveiled about 18 months ago. And that device was always aggressively priced, and it was an easy to recommend Chromebook because it did a lot of stuff new in the space back then when it was announced that other Chromebooks weren't doing in that price category. But these days, things are a little bit different, and great Chromebooks are coming down in price. And so as we look at all of the things that HP has updated here in this latest version of the x360 Chromebook, we need to decide and help you all decide, is this one worth your money? Today's video is brought to you by NordVPN. They're the VPN of choice for millions of consumers because they're awesome at what they do, and that's keeping your browsing secure and safe, whether you're at home or out and about and on the go. If you'd like to learn more about their services, head over to chromeunbox.com/NordVPN and you can learn more and get started today. In order to make that decision and figure out if this is the right device, if this is the right upgrade for you, we need to go through our normal spots here and talk about all the things we normally do in a review. So let's start off with the build quality. It is very good here. So HP has upgraded this thing over the original x360. It's aluminum on top, aluminum on the keyboard, just like the original was, and plastic on the bottom. But the plastic on the bottom, for one, is very convincing. It feels almost like the rest of the aluminum that's on this one. And there are no creaking areas. There's no seams that don't come together properly. And the whole thing just feels substantial and well put together and just premium, honestly, whenever you pick it up. But you're going to notice it's substantial because it's heavy. At 3.64 pounds, this comes in much heavier than most other 14-inch thin and light laptops, and it's not really thin either at almost 18 millimeters. So if you're looking for like the thinnest, lightest thing that you can carry around easily, this is not going to be it. You're going to notice that weight whenever you pick it up. But again, it's not a weight that feels like ridiculous or not well thought out. It just feels substantial and well put together. It is an x360 Chromebook, so obviously the hinge functions as a clamshell and then flips it all the way around into all the modes you would expect a convertible laptop to do. Interestingly enough, whenever you flip it into tablet mode, there's like an offset between the screen and the keyboard that's a little strange, and I don't know if it's on purpose or there's a reason behind it. It doesn't hurt the overall experience. It's just something you should note if you like to use 14-inch laptops in tablet mode a lot. Let's talk about the screen now, and this is another part where HP has actually upgraded this device over its predecessor. It's still a 14-inch IPS 16 by 9, 1080p, so 1920 by 1080 panel. So they didn't change any of those things, but the bezels are much smaller around the screen, so it looks a lot more modern, and it gets a little bit brighter. The original x360 is like 220 nits or something like that. This one is 250 nits. And if that sounds low, it is. Honestly, when I used it in most lighting conditions, I found myself reaching for that brightness adjustment, trying to get it to go a little bit brighter, and found it was maxed out most of the time. And so I lived with this Chromebook almost on max brightness at all times. And so if this is something you're looking at buying and thinking, hey, I need to be able to use this near a window or in brightly lit environments all the time, yeah, this might not be the Chromebook for you. That being said, the colors are great. They're nice and accurate. They're punchy. The viewing angles look good. And again, the bezels make it look nice and modern. It's not a bad display. It just doesn't get quite bright enough for my taste. It is worth noting that HP upgraded this screen over its predecessor with the addition of USI pen support. And while we don't have any USI pens laying around, I mean, we have a pre-production one, and we're holding off judgment on how this all works with Chromebooks, it is worth noting that it is there, and that as these pens begin to roll out later in the year, you'll have the ability to go grab a pen and use it with this Chromebook. As we move on down to the keyboard and the trackpad, I really don't feel like HP had a whole lot to improve upon here on the older generation of this device, because I really love the keyboard, the backlit keyboard of the original x360, and I love the glass trackpad. It was part of the whole reason that I would easily recommend that device. And same goes here. Like, HP has killed it with this keyboard. It's fantastic. It's backlit. You don't get a lot of bleed around the keys. It's quiet. It's clicky. It's super enjoyable to type on. No negative things to say about the keyboard whatsoever. And same goes for the trackpad. It's wide. It's large. It's glass. It feels great under the hand. The click mechanism is great. So keyboard trackpad isn't necessarily an improvement per se, but I don't think that they needed to improve too much on this model of this device. They just kept it, made some small refinements, and it's just fantastic across the board. A couple clear notable improvements they did make on this keyboard deck, however, is the inclusion of a fingerprint scanner, which I will always welcome across the board. It works well, it's fast, it's easy to set up, and it works just like you would see on other Chromebooks that have them. And then they've put the speakers on either side of the keyboard. And if you remember, well, honestly, if you think of any HP device that comes with Bang & Olufsen speakers, they always kind of disappoint. And then while these speakers aren't amazing and mind-blowing, they're not Pixelbook Go speakers, they do sound really good. They're very clear, they're very loud, and because they're upward firing, you get nice stereo separation. And when we talk about the landscape of laptop speakers, this has to be in the upper portion of them, especially when we're talking about Chromebooks. These are good speakers, they're enjoyable to listen to, and it's a nice addition here. As we look around the sides of the device, there's not really any surprises here. Well, save one, we'll get to that in just a second. But as far as ports go, nothing out of the ordinary. USB Type-C on both sides that can handle all the things USB Type-C has gotten good at. You also get a USB Type-A port, so if you have a legacy peripheral or something you need to plug in, you don't want to carry a dongle around, you have that. It's got a strange jaw drop thing going on with it. Not really even sure why that's there with this particular device because it's not super thin, so I don't know why that's there, but whatever, it looks kind of cool. You also get a micro SD card slot, headphone, microphone jack, so all your bases are covered there from a general I/O standpoint. But there's also a switch on the side that is unique, and it's one of the few Chromebooks I think this year that will have this. It's the first one out so far this year that has it, and it's basically just a switch that physically turns off your camera. So if you've ever worried about your camera and you want to make sure it's covered, this isn't a physical switch you slide across like what we saw on the Flex 5, which is nice. I like that option too. This is actually just a switch that just flips the camera off, and it's kind of nice and it's subtle on the side and it works just like you'd expect. If you're in your camera app or you're in a chat or whatever and you don't want to find a button to turn something off, flip that switch, camera turns off, you get a nice different light up there by the camera so you know that it's turned off. And it's kind of cool to see on this, especially in the age we're in where more and more people are using video chats. Finally, we need to talk about internal specs on this device. And here again, obviously HP updated things. They're not going to launch it just like they did with the X360 and 8th gen processors. This comes equipped with a Core i3 10th gen processor from Intel, which means it also comes with Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5 inside, so your connectivity is going to be stronger. It also comes with 8 gigs of RAM, and that's great. And honestly, I like the 10th gen Core i3 in Chromebooks compared to the i5. Isn't a huge performance difference, so if you can save some money and spend it on other things, great. Core i3, great. 8 gigs of RAM, great. 64 gigs of internal storage though, especially eMMC variety, which is a slower read-write speed, feels like a bit of a misstep for a device in this price category. I'd like to at least see 128 gigs of eMMC storage, or switch it over to 64 gigs of something like NVMe or just a regular SSD storage that a user could swap if they so choose in the future. But as it stands, this is the one that HP's put out and it probably won't change. Core i3, 8 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of eMMC storage. Day-to-day performance has been really solid. A Core i3, again, this 10th gen Core i3 is a monster in Chromebooks. It chews through everything you could throw at it. 8 gigs of RAM obviously is good. And again, it's 64 gigs of eMMC storage isn't going to hurt your performance. I just wish there was more space for people to store stuff. Yeah, you can expand that with the SD card slot. So as I was working from this device, there was never a spot where I thought, oh man, if I had more storage, this thing would be faster. It's fast and it's going to do everything you would expect it to do very, very quickly. And honestly, because that Core i3 doesn't get too hot and doesn't get too bothered by Chrome OS, the fans that are included, yes, there are fan ports and there are fans in this device, I don't think ever kicked on. And if they did, I never actually heard them. And just like its predecessor, as far as battery goes, this thing's been a champ. I mean, this is a 10+ hour battery, no problems whatsoever. And part of that's probably due to the fact that the screen doesn't get that bright. I mean, ultimately, when a screen doesn't get very bright, it doesn't have to push more power to the screen to do so. So even though I spent most of my time at 100% screen brightness, I was easily getting 10+ hours. I think if you kept that under wraps and didn't have a million things running at the same time, you could probably see somewhere around what HP claims to be 12 or 13 hours out of this thing. So an absolute battery champ here. So you might have noticed over the course of us going through all the pieces of this device, I kept referencing the X360, the original one. And I did that for a reason, not because I want to compare these two devices. This is clearly an upgrade in just about every single way over that original device. But I wanted to compare it because it seems like HP is taking a similar strategy this time around. So with this device, within a week of its release, we've already seen it go on sale. And that's part of the intrigue of the original X360 14. It was on sale all the time. At its MSRP, we never really recommended it, but it was always on sale for like $150 or $200 off. And at that price point, it was easy to recommend. This one's going to be the same case, I think. At MSRP, it has to go toe-to-toe with things like the Acer Chromebook Spin 713, which to me is just a better Chromebook overall at that price. But within a week of this thing being released, it was on sale already, $130 off. And then they had student deals that dropped another $100 off. I mean, you could get this Chromebook for $399, I think it was, just a couple weeks ago. It's actually, right now while we're filming this, it's $130 off again. And so within a month, it's already had two massive sales. It seems like HP has priced this thing to put it on sale. And if that's the case, if we continue to see price reductions on this thing of $100 to $150, it's an easy recommend. It's a fantastic Chromebook at a $400 to $500 price range. I just don't think it's worth $630 when there's other competition out there that are just better Chromebooks at that price range. But if HP continues to be aggressive at putting it on sale, it's an easy one to recommend, and it's a solid Chromebook all around and a great upgrade to an already great Chromebook. But guys, that's it for this one. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, go down there and hit that subscribe button, and make sure and hit the notification bell as well if you'd like to be alerted when we make future videos just like this one. And don't forget to hit the join button if you'd like to see all the cool stuff that our members get, like behind the scenes footage, early access to review videos, and some custom emoji. Till next time, we'll see you.